everyone, and welcome back for another episode in Adventures of Comprehension. I'm super excited about tonight's topic, and I know it's one that you are absolutely going to love. So, tonight we are going to be talking all about three different whole group comprehension games that you can play at any given time of the year with any text for any grade and for any skills that you are reviewing, especially if you're reviewing a lot of different skills this time of year or in the upcoming months for testing and you just want to kind of cram some big reviews in there. These are three fun games that your students are going to love. And I've tested them all, I've done them all in my classroom, and I know your class will love them too. So I will preface the one thing that I do love about these games is the fact that it gets 100% of your students' participation for every single question you ask. I know we're all guilty of them, but I'm very much against games where only one or two students get to participate at a time and the rest of them are kind of waiting on their turn. Things like, and I've played them before, so I totally know there's a time and place for them, or, we've all done them before. But things like, when you're playing Jeopardy or when you're playing Around the World or kind of games like that where it's only one or two students kind of up against each other. And they're the only two really being held accountable. So these games are unique in the fact that 100% of your class will be included in every single question, all right? And obviously you can take these games and vary them however you feel and however fits best for your class. So please take what I give you tonight and run with it, change it, fix it, whatever you want to do. But I thought I would share these fun games tonight to kind of put a fun little spin on all of our wonderful comprehension topics that we've been talking about in the last year or so. So I'm going to start with one. This is one I actually introduced to you, I think, in my very first Facebook Live. I want to say 4 years ago, believe it or not. So yes, there is already a video out there about this, but it's so old that I thought I would bring it back and make sure you've all heard about this wonderful game. This is a game that I made up literally probably 30 minutes before reading class one day. I just looked at my plans and I was very unhappy with what we were doing. The kids were squirrely. They needed something more engaging and fun, and I needed something more engaging and fun for them to be able to survive the day. So I sat and just kind of brainstormed this game, and it was one of the most memorable things I think we did that year, and the kids loved it. And so we call it the Great Sticky Note Challenge. So tonight's freebie, by the way, is a printout of all three games' directions. So you are going to get the printout of all the games that I'm going to talk to you about. That way you have the directions. You don't have to sit here and take notes. And you can walk away with the directions and you can kind of file them and play them whenever you would like. Okay, so if you would like that freebie, make sure you comment below and say, I want the freebie, and I will send you the link to get that, okay? All right, so tonight, like I said, the first game we're going to talk about is a game called the Great Sticky Note Challenge. And here is how the game works. And I've got the game memorized, but if I look down, it's because I'm trying to make sure I don't forget any crazy step because, I'm bad at that. All right, so what you will want to do beforehand, so to prep for the game, you are going to want to grab anywhere from 5, 6, 7, even 8 pieces of large construction paper. I would even go bigger. I would do like large anchor chart paper or butcher block paper. Go and grab, a big chunk of it, and then you want anywhere from 5 to 8 big pieces, enough to where all of your students can put a sticky note on it. That's how big you want it. So a piece of paper isn't going to work. You're going to want something bigger. You're going to want to think of however many questions you want your students to answer. When I did this game the very first time, we focused on 5 questions. So I had 5 large pieces of paper. So for each question you want to ask your students, that's how many pieces of paper you need, okay? And then you're going to write 1 question per paper on that paper. And your questions are going to be anything you want to ask. So if you're focusing on a certain skill, let's say you're focusing on text structure, then all 5 of your questions can be about text structure. And maybe it's a passage you read as a class, and then you do this game afterwards, after you read, to practice comprehending the text and focusing on text structure. Or maybe you want to mix things up and you want to review a whole bunch of stuff. So you read a passage as a class or a book as a class or whatever, and then you write a different question. So maybe you do main idea, maybe you do text structure, then maybe you do a cause and effect question, author's purpose question, and a text feature question because it's a nonfiction book or text. So on this would be very, very large chart paper. You would write one question per paper, and you're going to put those in front of you. Okay, just stack them up in front of you. Then the next thing you're going to want to do, and this is when the kids are ready, you are going to give each student the same number of sticky notes as questions you have. So if you prepped 5 questions, you want each student to have 5 post-it notes, okay? Clearly, if you had 8 questions, you want each student to have 8 post-it notes. Then you're going to want them to write their name on every single post-it note, and that's very important. Have them write it on the back, have them write it in the top corner. Make sure they leave room because they are going to be answering questions on these. So don't have them write them real big in the middle. That kind of defeats the purpose. So make sure their names are on them because if they're not going to be able to possibly get them back later, okay? So here's how the game then starts and works. What you're going to do is you're going to hold up your chart paper one piece at a time. You are going to ask the students the question. Now, some of this kind of stuff is up to you, whether or not you want them to have the copy of the text in front of them so they can go back through and underline evidence and use that, or whether you want to project a text or a passage. That stuff's up to you, but you need to have a passage or a text or a story that you've recently read for them to order to answer these questions, right? Makes sense. So you will hold up one of your chart papers and you will ask that question. Independently, the student will then write their answer on their own post-it note, their name on it somewhere. When they're done writing their answer, they will come up and they will stick their sticky note on the chart paper. So if you have 20 students, you're going to end up having 20 post-it notes on that chart paper. And I time my students. I give them 2 to 3 minutes to answer. Okay, timer's up. This piece of paper is now retired. You cannot put a sticky note on it. If you're not done, crumble it up. Sorry about you. And then move on. And so you're going to repeat that for all of the chart papers you created, all of the questions that you have prepped. Okay? So that's kind of phase 1. So all the students have now answered all of your questions and on individual post-it notes. Then what you're going to do is you're going to break your students up into groups. And again, the same number of post-it notes, the same number of questions, that's the same number of groups you're going to use. So if I did 5 questions, I need 5 groups. I'm going to put my groups around the room, and I'm going to give each group one of the chart papers. So the group A, you are now in charge of this chart paper with all these post-it notes. Here you go. And you're going to give each group their own chart paper. That group is now in charge of determining which of these post-it notes are right and which are wrong. So they're going to go through all of the post-it notes, and they're going to one by one read them and decide this answer is correct. This answer, however, is not correct. They're going to take all the answers that are incorrect off. They're going to take them off the chart and put them in a pile. All the answers that are correct, they're going to leave them on the paper, okay? When they're done sorting, they're then going to raise their hands, and you're going to come over and you're going to grab all the incorrect answers from them. Why is this important? Well, you want to make sure that if there's not a correct answer somewhere in this pile. So you will very quickly go through, flip, 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 flip. Oh, you know what, guys? This one actually is correct. I can see what they're saying. I'm going to go ahead and let this one go. And then you put it on the chart. So then you throw away all the incorrect answers. And what's left is a chart paper with only only correct answers on it. All groups are doing this at the same time. So when a group is done, you've checked them, they're good to go. Then they're going to take off all these post-it notes. These are the correct answers. And they are going to go give them back to the students they belong to. This is why names are so important. So they're going to go set them back on the desks of which the students sit at. So, this one belongs to Abby. This one belongs to Mark, whatever it may be. So when all the groups are done and they all head back to their seat, what should they find? Hopefully, they want to see how many post-it notes they got back. That's why we call it the Great Sticky Note Challenge, the Great Post-it Note Challenge, whatever you want to call that. But the point is, I started with 5. How many did I end up with? So the number, or whichever students got the most Post-it notes back wins. So it's just a super fun game. Again, it gets all 100% of your students, involved. One thing you can do to tack on to the end is after everyone comes back to their seat, you go back through the answers. So if I'm a student who maybe only got 2 Post-it notes back, and I'm like, man, I got 3 thrown away. That stinks. I know which 3 were thrown away because I can see the 2 that I have in front of me. So I can now, as a teacher, I can review all 5 questions, and that allows my students who didn't get them all back to kind of figure out where they went wrong in their answers. You can even use some of the incorrect answers if you want. Be like, put them under the document camera, cover up the name, especially if it's incorrect, but put it under the document camera and say, what could this student have said instead, or what could they have added to their answer to make it correct and for them to have gotten that Post-it note back. So, super fun game. Again, if you want the freebie for the directions, just say I want the freebie and I will send that right to you. All right, next game. This one is called You Be the Judge. My kids loved this game because, well, they got to be a judge. So here is how you play, and there is a little prep involved in this, not much, and if you do it once, your prep is done for every time you play the game. So what you're going to want to do is before you play, you're going to want to draw out anywhere from 5 to 6 different placemat consensus diagrams. Now, if you're not sure what that is, don't worry, because I put a picture of one down here. So basically it looks like this. I like to do it on large construction paper, not chart paper or butcher block, but just a piece of normal construction paper with the larger size because it gives the students more room, basically. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw out 5 or 6 of these and you're going to laminate them because the students are going to write on them over and over again for the game. So you're going to need something that you can either write on, or if you want to use regular size paper, and you think that's enough room to write, that's fine, but then throw these inside some of those page protectors. That way it's dry erase. So basically you want 5 or 6 dry erase placemats that look like this, okay? That's what you need to prep. On top of that, you're going to want to prep the questions, of course, that you have. So you have a text that you've read, whether you give them the text or you let them look at it on the document camera or they can't see it at all, that's completely up to you. I would highly recommend them being able to see and go back to the text, but that's my personal opinion. So then what you're going to do is you are going to choose anywhere from 1 to 4 people in your class to be the judge. Now this will change every question. So these are not the only judges you're going to have. So just for start, pick 1 to 4 people to stay, and they're going to sit up front, and they're going to be your first judges. And then the rest of your students are going to then be put into groups of 4. So if I'm in a group of 4, I will pick which one of these spots is mine. So this one's mine. This is where I'm going to write my answer. So then, how you play, it's super simple. The teacher will ask a comprehension question, okay, and they will give them, let's say, 2 minutes. In that 2 minutes, I independently, without talking to anyone in my group, I have to write out my own answer in my own section. So my neighbors, someone will be writing their answer here, someone will write one here, someone will write one here, okay? When that 2 minutes is up, or that 1 minute, whatever you decide is up, then it's time for whole group talk. So now everyone in my group is going to be talking about the answers that they wrote, and we're all sharing. And we have to somehow combine all of those answers to make one power answer. The power answer combines everything that we've said into one answer, and we write it here in the middle. So one person is in charge to write it. It's not a big deal. Have them write their answer very quickly. Again, you can time this section to make sure they're not taking forever. When that's done, this is where the judges come in. Then each group that you have is going to take a few seconds and share their power answer. The judges have to be listening very carefully because they are going to decide which group has the best power answer, and they have to justify why. So maybe that group over there, group B, gave the best power answer because they gave the most text evidence, or their text evidence was more powerful than all the rest of the group's text evidence, whatever it may be. What makes one group's answer the best, okay? And then you're going to repeat that. But before you repeat it, this is where I have my students rotate. So I will take my judges and I will put them into a group, and I will physically have each group move, and then maybe one group who were at the placemat they're going to be my next set of judges. And so it's kind of like groups of 4. We just kind of rotate who are the judges. Then I ask a new question, and we just repeat. So then they erase everything. This is why you want them dry erase. And then we use the same placemat to be able to answer the next question. So again, this one's called You Be the Judge. The directions are right here. Super fun and simple. And again, it can work with, a wide variety of comprehension questions. Maybe you're really wanting to focus on reviewing a novel. Maybe you're wanting to focus on reviewing all kinds of skills. That's a great game for doing that as well. Okay? All right, friends, I have one more game for you. Again, if you are wanting the freebie, make sure you drop me a comment and say, I want the freebie, and I will send you the link to download the directions to all of these games. All right. My dog is snoring. I don't know if you can hear him, but if you hear a weird rumbling noise, he's laying right next to me. Anyways, this, I hope you probably heard that right there. This one's called Picture Perfect. All right. This one is super fun. Again, it takes a tiny little bit of prep beforehand, but not much. So again, you will have a text or a story that you are focusing on, and you are going to think of anywhere from 10 to 16 questions that you want to ask. Now, I do highly recommend it being an even number. It needs to be an even number of questions. So either 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 is probably too many, but I threw that out there just in case they're more simple questions and you think they're going to go through them fast. And what you're going to do is you're going to write out or type up each question on a piece of paper, okay? So just a piece of paper, write out one question per paper, and you're going to hang those all around the room. So maybe if you do 10 questions, one per paper or one per page, and they're going to be all around your room ready to go, okay? Then the next thing you're going to have to do is print out a grid for each student. Now, you could do this in Word, you could do this in PowerPoint, you can draw this, but it needs to match however many questions you hang up is the same number of squares in your grid. For example, if I have 10 questions, this is what my grid would look like. 2 by 5 grid, doesn't matter if it goes vertical or horizontal, that's irrelevant. But you want each student to have a grid like this. And so they need to have that in their hands, and they also need to have access to crayons or colored pencils, okay? And before you begin, you are going to want to create an answer key for your questions. Now, your questions, see, this is why I have these for you, because I forget really important things. Like I just forgot something very important. When you create your questions, they need to be multiple choice. Multiple choice only, not open-ended. Each multiple choice answer needs to have a color assigned to it. So A, blah, 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 parentheses blue. B, do, 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 parentheses pink, and so on, right? A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, whatever, that's up to you. But they need to have a color assigned to them. And each question also needs to be numbered. So this is question 1, question 2, question 3. Okay? On your grid squares also need to be numbered. Just somewhere where the kids can see them. I'm going to number mine right now. That way they know when I'm at question 4, this is where I should be writing that answer. Okay? And in fact, they're actually not going to write any answers down at all. Because you assigned a color to each question, what they are going to do is actually color in the square according to the color next to the answer that they pick. So if I'm at question number 4 and I'm reading that question and I think C is the correct answer and C has the color purple, then I'm going to look at my grid and I'm going to color square number 4 purple, like so, okay? So what this is going to do is as the students are all walking around, and you can have them do this independently, they can do it in partners, they can do it in groups of 3. Again, that's up to you. But what they're going to have when they're done is a grid of 10 squares, and they're all colored. So what you will need to do prior to them starting, you're going to have your answer key made, meaning you're going to have your own grid, and it's all going to be colored with the right answers. So you can get really fun with this. You can make some patterns, like you could go, maybe this is yellow, 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 and this is purple, 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 right? See if the students pick up on that. You could do 3 colors, whatever pattern you want to do, but make it fun, right? And so when the students get done, then they're going to come up to you and you're going to present to them the filled in correct grid, meaning the answer key. They're going to look at theirs and compare, do my colors match their colors? You know what? I have a blue one here, but she has a yellow one in square one. So because I got that wrong, I'm going to circle it. That's one I got incorrect. But it's just a fun way for them to kind of go through and check their answer. It's a unique way for them to go through and answer multiple choice questions. And there's some great extension things you can do with this too. Something that I've tried is when students are done and they've colored everything in and they've come up and they've checked with the answer key grid and they know which ones are incorrect, I send them back to those questions. Now, this is the one you got wrong. You need to go back to question one, and I want you somewhere on your paper to write out an explanation of why it's this color and not this color. So if I have it colored yellow, but the correct answer is the blue, why is it that answer? And I want you to explain to me in writing why number one was incorrect, why number one's answer should be this, etc. So again, it's a great little way to kind of get them to go back, rethink through things, correct their answers, and figure out why the answer is the answer. So, picture perfect, again, super easy. Prep is very minimal 10 questions, multiple choice, make your grid, number your grid, and you're good to go. And once you make your grids, as long as you keep with that same number of questions, all you have to do each time you play is write new questions. And they don't have to be typed. You can handwrite them out, tape them all around the room, and you're good to go. So it's a fun way, again, to get the students up and out of their seats, get crayons in their hand. They're excited to see the pattern and what pattern you've created. Um, but it's just fun, right? So this one again is called Picture Perfect. So friends, I've walked you through tonight 3 different whole group comprehension games. And what I love about these games is the fact that you can use them to get every single student involved in every single question. They're holding themselves accountable. You're able to kind of look and see, who's got it, who doesn't, where maybe do you need to have an intervention, or do another lesson with a specific focus. It gives you great data. It gives them great data, and they have fun in the process. So if you want the freebie, make sure you comment below and say, I want the freebie. I'll send you the link, and I hope you like them. So if you play one of these games, make sure to take some pictures. If you have Instagram, post a picture of you playing the game and make sure to tag me at Adventures of Room 129. Or just send me a picture just so I can see, because it's fun to see all the little ones playing these awesome fun games. So thank you so much for joining tonight. I hope you join me next week, Wednesday, again at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Adventures of Comprehension. If you have any questions about the games or anything, make sure you comment, of course, and let me know, and I will go back and answer those as soon as I can. So thanks so much. Have a great evening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.